Hash the question at 30,000 feet. The airplane hummed steadily through the afternoon sky, its engines providing a constant, gentle drone that most passengers had long stopped noticing. Sunlight streamed through the oval windows, painting stripes of gold across the cabin floor. Marcus Sullivan sat in seat 12A, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his leather briefcase tucked beneath the seat in front of him. He was the CEO of Sullivan Technologies, a man whose name appeared regularly in business magazines, whose signature approved deals worth millions of dollars. At 38 years old, he had everything the world told him to want. Yet as he stared out the window at the clouds below, his reflection stared back at him with tired eyes. The flight from New York to Seattle was supposed to give him time to prepare for tomorrow's board meeting. His laptop sat unopened on the tray table. His phone, switched to airplane mode, lay face down beside it. Instead of working, Marcus found himself simply staring, his mind wandering through memories he usually kept locked away. The seat beside him had been empty when he boarded, and he had been grateful for that. He wasn't in the mood for small talk with a chatty neighbor. But just before the cabin doors closed, a last-minute passenger arrived. She was perhaps 5 years old, with light brown hair pulled into a ponytail, wearing a pink dress and carrying a small red backpack. A flight attendant helped her into the seat beside Marcus, making sure her seatbelt was properly fastened. "You'll be just fine, sweetie," the flight attendant said warmly. "This gentleman will keep an eye on you until we can reunite you with your dad in Seattle, won't you, sir?" Marcus nodded automatically, barely registering the responsibility he'd just accepted. The flight attendant explained that the little girl was an unaccompanied minor, traveling to see her father. Marcus offered a polite smile in return to his window, to his clouds, to his thoughts. The little girl sat quietly for the first hour of the flight. She colored in a coloring book, looked through a picture book about dolphins, and carefully ate the sandwich her mother had packed. Marcus appreciated her silence. He wasn't used to children. His life had no room for them. Or so he had convinced himself. As the plane leveled out at cruising altitude, Marcus continued to stare out the window. He didn't notice his own expression, didn't realize how the sadness he usually buried beneath board meetings and business calls had risen to the surface of his face. But the little girl noticed. "Why are you so sad?" she asked. Her voice was small but clear, cutting through the engine noise and the distance Marcus had carefully constructed around himself. He turned to look at her, startled by the directness of the question. "I'm not sad," he said automatically, the same lie he'd told himself every morning for the past 3 years. She tilted her head, studying him with the brutal honesty that only children possess. "But your eyes look sad. Like my mommy's eyes when she misses my daddy." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. He opened his mouth to deflect, to dismiss, to rebuild his walls. Instead, something unexpected happened. He laughed. It started as a soft chuckle, surprising himself with its genuineness. The little girl's observation was so simple, so innocently direct, that it bypassed all his adult defenses. Here was a child, completely unimpressed by his title or his success, seeing straight through to the truth he'd been hiding. The laugh grew, shaking his shoulders, and then, without warning, it transformed. Tears began to slip down his cheeks. Marcus Sullivan, who hadn't cried at his father's funeral, who had maintained perfect composure when his company nearly collapsed, who prided himself on his professional control, found himself crying on an airplane because a 5-year-old girl had asked him why he was sad. The little girl watched him with wide eyes, not frightened, but concerned. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small package of tissues, the kind printed with cartoon characters. She held them out to him. "It's okay to cry," she said seriously. "My mommy says tears help wash the sad away." Marcus took the tissues, wiping his eyes, trying to compose himself. But the dam had broken, and there was no stopping it now. "Thank you," he managed to say. "You're very kind. What made you so sad?" she asked, her small hand reaching out to pat his arm in a gesture of comfort that was heartbreakingly adult. Marcus took a shaky breath. He'd never told anyone the full truth, had never allowed himself to voice it. But something about this moment, this unexpected confessional at 30,000 feet, made him want to be honest. "I had a little girl once," he said quietly. "Not my daughter, but my niece. Her name was Emma. She was about your age. I used to take her to the park every Sunday, just the two of us. She'd ask me a million questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Where do birds sleep? Why do people get sad? He paused, the memories flooding back. Emma got sick 3 years ago. Very sick. I spent all my time working, trying to make enough money to pay for the best doctors, the best treatments. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I was successful enough, I could save her. The little girl listened, her coloring book forgotten. But she died anyway, Marcus continued, his voice breaking. And I realized I'd spent all that time working instead of being with her. I missed her last birthday because of a business trip. I missed her dance recital because of a meeting. I thought I was helping by earning money, but what she really needed was just for me to be there. Tears fell freely now, and Marcus didn't try to stop them. Since then, I've just kept working. I buried myself in my company, telling myself it was what I had to do. But the truth is, I was running away from how much it hurt. I was running away from feeling anything at all. The little girl was quiet for a moment, processing this with the seriousness children bring to important matters. Then she said, "Emma sounds nice. I bet she loved you very much." "I hope so," Marcus whispered. "My daddy says that people we love don't really go away," the little girl continued. "They stay in our hearts, and we can talk to them whenever we want." "Do you talk to Emma?" Marcus shook his head. He'd been too afraid to even think about her, let alone talk to her. "Maybe you should," the little girl suggested. "Maybe she has things she wants to tell you too." For the rest of the flight, Marcus and the little girl talked. She told him about her school, her favorite color, her hopes of becoming a veterinarian. He told her stories about Emma, allowing himself to remember the joy instead of just the pain. The little girl laughed at the funny parts and held his hand during the sad parts. When the plane landed in Seattle, Marcus helped her gather her things. As they walked up the jetway together, he could see a man waiting anxiously at the gate, the little girl's father. She ran to him, and they embraced tightly. Before leaving, she turned back to Marcus. "I hope you feel better now," she said. "Remember to talk to Emma." Marcus watched them go, a genuine smile on his face for the first time in 3 years. He pulled out his phone, ready to make a call to his sister, Emma's mother. Ready to stop running, ready to feel again. Sometimes healing begins with the simplest question, asked by the most unexpected person. And sometimes, at 30,000 feet, we find the courage to finally come back down to earth.